Okay, let's talk about toxic relationships. Here's some things that you should know. The people in our lives that are toxic, where this is coming from is really, they just want to feel better, but they don't know how. So they'll go on negative rants, they'll just overwhelm you on a phone call or show up at your door with just everything going wrong in the world. And the quickest way that you can get out of that is divert them with compliments. So interrupt them whenever somebody shows up at your door or calls you unexpectedly and it's a negative rant, you just don't want to be a part of it. Just stop them, just interrupt them and say, you know what? Have I ever told you how amazing you are at, and just try your best to pull something out about this person. Think of something that you can say that will really compliment them. Have I ever told you how much I admire your boldness, or how much you teach me because you're not afraid to speak your mind, or you're not afraid to do this, or the other day I was thinking about how beautiful your home is, and I just wanted to let you know, sorry to interrupt you, but I want you to know how much I love your home, and if there's any way you could ever give me some decorating tips. Or I was telling my neighbor the other day about how fantastic you are at baking cookies. You're just the best baker on the street. Okay, whatever it is, divert them with compliments, and that will automatically shift the conversation from that low vibration into a higher vibration. And if they don't like that, they're just going to end the phone call and realize, I'm going to go vent to somebody else. Or they might enjoy what it is you're saying and take the conversation in a better direction. Okay, in the long term, if you stay in a situation with someone who's toxic, like I said earlier, they're going to pull you down. So keep your circle in high vibration. Keep people in your circle that are going to boost you all the time, people that are positive and uplifting. When you think to yourself, well, I'm going to convert this person over to the light. I'm gonna help change this person. Well, again, you're not appreciating agency when you do that, but at the same time, eventually they're gonna pull you down. So if this is a toxic person who's always this way, you have to understand the reality of that. It's different if someone's in a moment of depression and you want to help lift them out of that. That's something totally different. These are toxic people who have been toxic from day one, and their motives are never good. And there's always an underlying selfish motive for what they're doing. These are the people that you really want to avoid. Okay, let's talk about finding peace. When you can experience peace in your heart, then you don't have to wait for circumstances to be peaceful, right? When you choose to experience peace, it's going to change your life. So I want to start by sharing with you this experience Walt Disney had. And I don't know if you're familiar with his story. There was a movie recently on Netflix all about his life and pretty much focusing on the part of his life where he became successful. And I loved it when I saw this movie because it really, really demonstrated logic versus feeling. And we talked about that at the very beginning of the workshop. Do we go with our brain and what everyone's telling us and what sounds logical, what makes sense? Or do we go with what our heart's telling us? So logic versus feeling. Well, in this movie, Walt Disney experiences many times where he is starting to build his cartoon business. He's got a company he's set up and he's got employees working for him. They're relying on him to earn money so they can feed their families and pay their bills. He's also trying to do the same thing, and it gets to a point where things are looking really great, and then all of a sudden everything just crumbles and he files for bankruptcy. He's homeless on the street. He's lost everything. His employees are gone, and he doesn't let that stop him. He tries it again, moves, creates another cartoon business, tries it all again, relies on people to fund him since he doesn't have the money. And these people that are funding him want things done their way, and of course it's not his way, but he went with his logic, and everyone, including his logic, told him, well, it would just make sense that where you don't have any money, you would borrow the money from other people and allow them to have a say in what goes on, and have these investors. And so in his mind and in everybody else's mind, he couldn't do it. He couldn't be successful and create his dream without investors. But what kept happening is it kept repeating. It was like a repeating pattern. Every time he relied on other people to make his dream come true, to come in and save the day, It failed every time. Every time he was left with nothing and he had to start all over. And finally one day when he was ready, almost ready to give up, and everyone around him was saying, you know what, let it go, give it a rest, go try something different. This obviously isn't working for you. Finally, he decided to go with his heart and realize, you know what, I don't need investors. I don't need other people telling me what to do. My heart's been telling me all along that I can do this myself, that I have the best ideas and that I know how to make this dream happen. But I've been going with my brain. I'm gonna do it differently now by going with my heart. And so this time he follows his heart. He runs his company himself and does it his way. And then of course we know the ending. He ends up becoming very successful, and we all know who he is today, and we all love Disneyland and Disney World, and we've benefited so many ways from Disney. So what this was he was choosing the path of peace, which is the path of least resistance. So when we feel like we're having to try so hard and fight and work and push and push and push up that mountain and work so hard and work till our clothes are ragged, and when we feel like we have to do that, we're pushing against. It's like if you imagine I've heard it put this way, if you imagine a river and the current's flowing down that river, and when you're flowing downstream with the current, it's so easy. It feels so good and so natural, and there's no resistance, and everything just flows so naturally and beautiful. Things just flow into your life. But when you feel like you have to turn around and start swimming upstream and swimming against the current, you start to experience resistance. You feel the resistance of that current, and it's harder. It takes longer. It's a lot of work. It wears you out. It's draining, and that's because you're choosing the path of resistance. So in life, you can experience peace by just choosing it, just choosing to feel peace, but at the same time, choosing that path of least resistance. So what that would mean is maybe you felt like that afternoon you really needed to dust your house. You know, maybe your house is just covered in dust, and every day you keep putting it off, and it's been a rough week, but you decide today's the day I've got to do that. But come afternoon time, you're just really not feeling up to it. And you feel like if you exert yourself to go dust your entire upstairs, you're going to just feel really tired and really unmotivated, and it's just going to bring you down. It just doesn't sound fun at all. Well, if you push against that feeling and do it anyways, you're going against the current. You're taking the path of resistance. And when you're vibrating at the vibration of resistance, that's a really low vibration. So you're going to start attracting more low vibrations into your life. More. Maybe you start getting a headache, and your kids come home and you argue with them. Okay, so if you're feeling at that time, you know what, I could go dust the house, but it just doesn't feel good at all. It doesn't feel like I'm not up to it right now. Or I could take a bubble bath and just take a time out for an hour and just do nothing and relax. That sounds really good. I really want to do that. Well, if you choose that, that's going with the path of least resistance. That's going with the current. That's the path of peace. You go take that bubble bath and you're going to feel so much better. Sure, your house is going to be dusty still, but you went with how you felt. You went with your heart. And maybe your body needed that time out. So listen to your feelings. Always go with your feelings. That will always be the path that brings you peace. It will always be the path of least resistance. Life gives us tests. We can choose to pass them or repeat them. A lot of people call these tests. It's just habits is what it really is. If we're in a habit of a certain frequency, if we're in the habit of always feeling like we're the victim, or always feeling like we need someone to come in and save the day, if we're in the habit of thinking and feeling that way, we're going to constantly be putting out those frequencies and getting more of that back into our lives. But when we finally decide to break the pattern and pass the test, we're gonna move up. We're gonna move up the ladder. We're gonna go on to bigger and better things and move up that chart of consciousness. And we're gonna change our vibrations and bring better things into our lives. And this is how we receive blessings. So if you're praying for blessings all the time, but you're wondering why they're not coming into your life, No, God's not punishing you. You're just choosing to resist those blessings. You're not open to them. So if you want to open yourself up to receive those blessings and have those benefits in your lives, then you need to go with your heart. And you need to put an end to those habits and those patterns and just choose to move on from that. Okay, we talked about expressing gratitude. The best way to get out of a habit is to stop yourself in the moment and just praise the Lord, express gratitude out loud for what's going on in your life. Okay, now we're going to do something that I call the alignment test. I want you to get out a piece of paper, and if you don't have one, go ahead and pause this for a minute and come back to this. And get out a sheet of paper, and I want you to number it from 1 to 5. Okay, go ahead and do that. Now, I want you to list in order the things that you spend most of your time on every day. So in order of 1 being the thing you spend the most time on, all the way down to 5. So maybe you work full time and you feel like you spend most of your time at your job working. And the next thing you spend the most time on maybe is maybe reading. Maybe when you come home you like to unwind and you read headlines, you read books, whatever it is. So think about the things you spend the most of your energy and time on every day and order them from 1 to 5. Go ahead and pause this if you need to. Okay, now next to those numbers, you're going to list another column and number it 1 through 5 also. Now on this column, you're going to put in order things that are priority to in your life. So number 1 being the first and most important priority in your life, all the way down to number 5. So maybe number 1 for you, your priority is your relationship with God. Maybe number 2 is your relationship with your spouse. Maybe number 3 is your relationship with your family. Maybe number 4 is your health. You know, you decide what those things are. So go ahead and pause this if you need to. Okay, now what I want you to do is look at those columns side by side and see how they match up. If you had, for example, in column number 2, your relationship with God listed as your number 1 priority, check if you have that at all on column number 1. Do you spend any time in your day developing that relationship with God? If you have nothing on there, don't feel bad, but allow this to open up your eyes and see this as an opportunity to where you can change the way that you spend your time so that it better matches the things that are important to you and the things that you value. See, what happens here is this is that split energy again. We have our core values inside of us of the things that are important to us, the things that we value that are priority, and when we're not putting those in order in our lives the way that we feel they should be, and we're not spending our time there the way that we feel we should be, we have that conflict inside of us. This is when we're not happy. I can guarantee you, if you're going through a time in your life where you are just unhappy, if you do this alignment test, you're going to clearly see where you're out of alignment. And where you see it, you're going to be able to know where and how to fix that. So, like I said, don't beat yourself up, but let this be an opportunity to create some change in your life. Okay, let's talk about how we practice this. So we've spent all this time talking about the importance of unconditional happiness, the benefits that it has on our overall being, the benefits it has on the world, the benefits it has on other people, and the science behind it. So we know it's good for us, we know we should be doing it, but how do we apply it in our lives? Okay, I want you to think of something that you believe would bring you a lot of happiness. Think about whatever that is right now. Something that you feel if it happened to you, you would just be so joyful. Maybe it's a cruise, maybe you win the lottery, whatever it is. Just think about that for a minute. Okay, now I want you to think about why this would bring you so much joy. Why is it that going on a cruise or winning the lottery, whatever it is, why would this bring you so much joy? So ponder on that for a minute. Okay, now I want you to think about what would having it mean to you. So if you had this opportunity to go on this cruise, what would that mean to you? Okay, then I want you to think about the feelings that this would create for you. Going on a cruise, or let's say winning the lottery or inheriting money from an ancestor, what feelings would this create for you? maybe winning money or inheriting money would really just create a sense of freedom for you. You wouldn't feel so enslaved to paying bills and paying other people. You would feel like you had more freedom. Okay, so now having done this, realize that it's the feelings that we're really after. It's the feelings. It's not necessarily the money that we want. We just want what that money creates, that feeling of being independent and free. So now that we know it's the feelings we're after, here's where it gets amazing. Here's where you can really have some major power over your own life. How can you experience those feelings now? You see, this is what unconditional happiness is. It's not waiting to create these circumstances in our life so that we can then experience the feelings. It's finding ways to create the feelings now, in the present time, so that eventually those experiences come into our lives. Okay, so if it's freedom we're really after, how can we start experiencing the feeling of freedom right now? How can we focus on that? How can we feel the joy of that? We just do it, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate this real quick. Think about what it feels like to feel free. Close your eyes for a minute and start creating that feeling inside of you of being free. Imagine yourself flying. Imagine yourself traveling the world. Imagine yourself not having a schedule that you have to answer to every day. Imagine yourself having the ability to give to so many people because you're free to do so. You share that money with those that are in need of it. You're able to do that. It feels good. It feels like you're caring. It feels like you're empowered. It feels like you are just experiencing so much peace, and you're soaring. You're experiencing bliss. You're on a high. You feel like life is responding so well to you. You just feel free, whatever that means to you. So you think about these feelings and you create it in your mind and you focus on this, and you can do this in a meditation or just close your eyes and be still and do it for 10 minutes in your car, wherever you are, and create that feeling of freedom. So maybe if it's the cruise you were going after, the feeling that you really wanted was fun and adventure. Well, start going on some fun and adventure. Go to an amusement park, go on a hike, go explore a city you've never been to that's nearby. Go on some fun and adventure. Watch a fun and adventurous movie. Those feelings will be created and you'll be able to express them inside of you. And as you start feeling fun and adventure and what that feels like in your life, you're going to start noticing fun and adventure coming into your life. It's those matching vibrations. So this is how you practice unconditional happiness. You go to those feelings, you focus on them, you try to create them, you bring them into you bring them into your heart, you feel them all over. Even if you have to imagine, this is the power of imagination. Close your eyes and make up a story in your mind about you, and you're going on this amazing adventure and how fun it will be, and you're going on a safari with your best friend. What does that look like? What adventures do you go on? What experiences do you encounter? So this is what you do. You just use your imagination, or you actually go out and go on little adventures. This is what you do. So it's amazing. I highly recommend you do this. Okay, so as you focus on these feelings, you will attract more experiences which will bring more of these same feelings into your life. And the truth about affirmations, this is what I like to share with people, is that feelings override the words. You must believe it. Again, it goes back to that split energy. If you're somebody who has a list of affirmations and you say them daily, but you find that they're not happening in your life, this is why right here. Because if you're not believing what it is you're saying, you're feeling doubt, you're feeling disbelief, and you're out of harmony and out of sync and out of alignment with what it is you're saying, and it's that split energy. So instead of saying, I am losing weight and I am feeling, or I am looking younger every day, maybe that's one of your affirmations. Instead of saying that, focus on the feelings. Because your mind might be laughing at you and saying, yeah, right, you're not physically fit, you're 100 pounds overweight, or you're not feeling younger every day, you've got dark circles under your eyes and you're getting more wrinkles, and is that a gray hair? So if you're saying this in the back of your mind, you're creating that split energy. So you have to believe what it is you're saying. And so say the feelings. Say what it feels like to have those things in your life. When they come, what will that feel like? So you might say something like this. You know, it feels really good when I am at my best health. It feels really good when I take care of my body. It feels really good when I am losing weight, and because it feels like freedom, it feels like youthfulness, it feels like motivation, it feels like I have more choice because I have more clothes to choose from in my wardrobe. It feels like I have more choices. It feels amazing. Okay, so you focus on the feelings and you go there and you close your eyes and you imagine what it will feel like when this comes to pass, when you're at your ideal goal weight, or when you have achieved that weight loss, or whatever it is. You imagine what that feels like and you focus on the feelings. So your affirmations need to change. Instead of saying, I am physically fit, or I am getting younger, and the back of your mind is laughing at you like, yeah, right, you just ate a Twinkie this morning. You know, you can avoid that split energy by just expressing the feelings. I feel really good when I'm at my best weight. I feel really youthful. I feel really energetic. You focus on these feelings and you close your eyes and you imagine yourself being there and being in that moment and what that feels like. And then you can you feel those feelings coming on and they start to match what it is you're saying. And that is how you bring those vibrations into your life. Okay, I'm going to give you some helpful tools on how to stay in high vibration. Well, before I share the first one, I want you to know that these are things that you can do the last 20 minutes before you go to bed. Be very aware that the last 20 minutes before you go to bed, whatever you do to fill that time is going to highly impact the kind of sleep that you have and the kind of day you're going to have the next day. So if we're unwinding and relaxing and bringing on peaceful feelings, we're going to have better dreams, we're going to have more sleep, we're going to feel more relaxed, and we're going to have a better day. Now, if you're watching headlines and watching the news and reading about awful things going on in the world, or you're watching a dark and scary show, or something that's full of a lot of drama, well, you're going to have dreams that are a little bit more upsetting, and you might wake up more in the night, and you're not going to have as better of a day as you could have had you made better choices before you went to bed. So here's a bunch of different things that I like to do that work really well. The first one is a gratitude journal. You may have done this before. I love to take the time to write down all the things that happened to me that day that I'm grateful for, the good and the bad. And especially if it's bad, I like to write why I'm grateful that it happened to me and maybe some good that came out of it. Okay, and as you do this every night, if you've had a bad day or things didn't go your way, you can change those feelings and go to bed feeling peace about your day and have a much better day the next day. Music. Listening to music that's going to raise your vibrations. Now, we talked about those frequency YouTube videos that you can look up, and you can listen to that music, or meditation music is just as good. Listen to that before you go to bed. Inspirational videos are great to watch, especially if you're going to put visuals into your mind. These are really going to affect your dreams. Make sure what you're watching is inspirational. Sacred space. I have a sacred space. It's my shoe closet. I know I've talked about it in my books before and in my videos, but that's the place where I go when I want some alone time and I want to talk to the Lord and have some privacy. I'll go to that sacred space and I will pray, read scriptures, just spend some time with Him. Service. Maybe write a thank you card to someone, or do something kind for someone, maybe someone in your family that's already gone to bed, or call somebody and tell them that you love them. Service is great. Now, of course, this isn't something you do 20 minutes before you go to bed, but I put on there a full night's sleep, because if you can go to bed early, I'd say try to go to bed by 10:30 and be up by no later than 7. If you can get a full night's sleep, it's going to have an overwhelming positive effect on your overall health. So when we're lacking sleep, we're not feeling our best selves, and we're miserable, and it changes everybody's vibrations around us. 20-minute power naps are a great way if you couldn't help your sleep that night. Maybe there was a thunderstorm or your child was sick and you're just exhausted the next day. A 20-minute power nap is highly worth it. set your timer for when you need to wake up and just allow yourself to just go to sleep. Take some melatonin if you need to. Listen to some quiet music, but sleep for 20 minutes. It's going to feel like you had a full night's sleep. Do a 15-minute meditation. 15-minute meditations are amazing. It's just enough time to bring yourself into alignment. You want to bring yourself into alignment before you fall asleep. That's the key of doing all of this. Deep breathing. If you can only do 3 deep breaths, that's good enough. But if you can spend longer deep breathing, I've done videos on deep breathing, and if you've ever done meditation, you understand the power behind this. But deep breathing has a huge impact on your mind, body, and spirit, and your overall health, to the point of reversing medical illnesses. It's amazing what it can do to your cells and your DNA. So deep breathing is so important. Binaural beats. It's similar to the frequency thing. If you're not sure what those are, you can Google it or just YouTube it. But listen to binaural beats, and your body will appreciate that. Emotional release. I do this. There's lots of ways you can do this. I use Dr. Nelson's body code and emotion code, and I use it to pinpoint areas of blockage in my body and pinpoint what those emotions are that created those blockages. And then I give those feelings and emotions to the Savior, and I use the atonement. I do this every single day. So sometimes it only takes 10 minutes. Other days it might take me a half hour. High vibrational foods and water. Are you properly nourished, and are you drinking enough water, or are you dehydrated? Our body is made up mostly of water, as we talked about earlier, and so when we deprive ourselves of that, it's not good. We need to be giving ourselves those high frequencies. We can get them through music, through colors, through sounds, but we can also get them through our foods and through water. So make sure you're drinking good, clean, pure water, and the foods that you're putting into your body are high vibrational foods. Clean foods, whole foods. Basically, it's what you learned in school, in health class. Try to avoid processed foods and foods that just don't have any nourishment or vitamins in them. And your best bet is always going with foods that are of the earth, foods that are natural. And I have a whole other workshop on that, because there's so much to know about that. So stay tuned for that workshop. Spiritual connection. Are you taking time to connect with the Spirit and to connect with your own spirit? Are you taking the time to feed your spirit? Are you reading scriptures, praying, reading good books that are going to feed your spirit? Make sure you do that. And lastly, live in the now. Don't go to bed worried about the past and things that happened 5 weeks ago or the day before, and don't go to bed stressed about tomorrow and the future. Go to bed grateful for the present time and your life right now in the present. That's going to be huge. Okay, let's lastly talk about the 4 domains of resilience: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Having high resilience is what helps us bounce back from stressful situations. So if you've ever seen someone in your life and, maybe their husband died, and you're just amazed at how they handled it and how they were able to jump right back into life and pick up where they left off and just seem to really thrive after something so tragic like that, it's probably because they've got these 4 domains of resilience where they need to be. And so imagine this with yourself. You've got the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. If you're not physically resilient, if you're weak, if you're malnourished, if you're sick, you're ill, that's going to affect how you handle a stressful situation. If emotionally you're out of whack and out of balance, and you've not released these emotions or dealt with them, and they're building up inside of you, you've got a lot going on, that's going to affect how you deal with a stressful situation. Mentally, if you've got thoughts going on in your mind and your mind's just not right, keeping you up at night, that's going to deal with how you deal with them, or affect how you deal with stressful situations. And lastly, spiritually, if you don't have a spiritual foundation, you don't have a firm testimony, you don't have yourself anchored in any spiritual beliefs at all or a relationship with God, then of course when something major happens, like the death of a spouse or a child, you're going to be a mess. And so evaluate these 4 areas of your life and see how resilient you are in those areas. If you can keep up on all 4 of these areas, then you're going to be so much better prepared to deal with things that happen in life that you don't have control over. Okay, now let's talk about the fun part. It's all about celebration. It's all about celebrating your life and your experiences and who you are. So remember, don't beat yourself up, because every day is a fresh slate. It's a fresh start to tell your story how you want it told and to celebrate your life. Remember, you're the author. You get to write the chapters of your life. So don't be in a hurry to get to your destination. That's no fun. Because if it's about the destination and you're in such a hurry to get there, well, one day when you finally get that cruise or you inherit that money or whatever it is, you're never going to be satisfied. And you've heard about these people that have all the money in the world, but they're still not happy. They have everything materially they could possibly want, but they're not happy. It's because they're not enjoying the journey. The satisfaction in this life is always going to be in the journey. It's the everyday moments. It's living in the now. If you're not finding joy in the now, in the present time of your life, then you're never going to be satisfied. You're always going to be waiting for happiness to come to you. And you're going to be one of those people who decides, I'm not going to be happy until circumstances change in my life. Then I'll be happy. And again, that's not unconditional happiness. You're never going to find it. You must choose it now, right now in this moment, today. So I want you to say this to yourself right now. You can repeat after me. I'm having so much fun anticipating what's waiting around the corner. I love surprises. There's something really awesome on the way. I can feel it. I don't know when it will get here or how, but I know it's coming. I'm having so much fun enjoying the journey. Okay, this is one of my affirmations that I actually say every day. I say this every morning, and it rings true in my life. I am having fun. I'm having fun even when I'm just at home with my kids. We're having fun. We dance, we sing, we make cookies. It's fun. I'm always having things to look forward to and finding joy in any situation. And so I highly recommend that you do it too. All right, lastly, let's sum this up and talk about catching and spreading the happy bug. And how we do that is through our choices. So I want you to say this to yourself. It's kind of like your creed. I choose to accept responsibility and maintain my personal power. I choose to align myself daily. I choose to be aware of and in control of my thoughts and feelings. I choose to express gratitude in all things. I choose to live in the present. I choose humility. I choose to be open and to open my heart. I choose to radiate. I choose to be me. So these are things you can say every day, and as you say this out loud, you're telling yourself that all these things are a choice, and you're acknowledging your personal power. No one can take that away from you. This is your personal power. This is your life. This is your story. These are your choices. And by saying this out loud, you're consciously expressing that you choose unconditional happiness. And as you say this out loud, and as you vibrate unconditional happiness, you're going to spread it to everybody who comes in contact with you. And they're going to, so really the happy bug is just the vibration of pure happiness. That's all it is. And you're spreading those vibrations every time you express them within yourself. So I hope that this workshop has motivated you and inspired you to make some changes in your life. Realize that that you don't have to wait for things to be a certain way in your life. You can start feeling happy now. And if anything, I hope that what you really took away from this workshop is that it's all about our feelings. It's all about creating those real vibrations and frequencies right in our heart, right in the brain of our spirit. When we can create those feelings, it's going to change everything in our lives and everything around us and throughout the world. It's so powerful. So I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and take a break. It was a long workshop, but write down ideas that you received from this workshop. Go back and revisit your notes and start doing things differently. I'd love to hear back from you. I'd love to hear about your experiences and how this has changed your life. And things that you're trying and really enjoying, and even questions that you have. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can go to my website, lindseyrietzsch.com. Now, it's tricky to spell my name, so take a mental note and write down the spelling right here. But go to lindseyrietzsch.com, and from there you can access all my other services and products. I've got lots of blogs. I blog as the Happy Lady. I have a Happy Lady website. I also have a Happy Lady Facebook page. That's the best place where you can follow me every day. It's the best place where you can reach out to me and post questions and feedback. And I put videos on there every week. In fact, every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, you can find me on there sharing a live video. And you can join in the conversation. It's free to do. Leave questions and comments, and I'll get back to you each week. And it's just a place where I share lots of happy tips and ideas and experiences that happen to me. You can also go to my store on there. If you're familiar with my products, I've got some great healing ointments, healing creams for skin problems. There's a whole story behind that. I've got music on there. I'm a songwriter. There's a whole story behind that as well. It's on the website. And I've got lots of books out there. And my most recent book is You Were Meant to Prosper. A lot of the things we talked about today in this workshop are in that book. So if you liked this workshop, I highly recommend you get a copy of that book and share it with others. And check out the other books as well. They're all valuable. There's so much in those books that I could do a workshop on each of them. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. It's been a pleasure. I love talking about this topic. I'm so passionate about it. And I really hope that you take what you learned today and you go apply it and you share it. Enjoy your life this week. Enjoy the good and the bad. And cheers to unconditional happiness. Have a great day and a great week.